Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we're here with episode 7 of Kid Cosmic. So last time I was exceptionally impressed. This series has won my heart and definitely won me over as my favorite Craig McCracken show. Um, and considering I grew up with Craig McCracken shows, that is saying something because a lot of these hold a special place in my heart. And yeah, like shows like Powerpuff Girls and Foster's Home have had a lot of great moments in them, a lot of great emotional and even like notably heavy points in their run. But for the most part, those shows being episodic allows them to get around having to focus on continuity. And because of that, most of those shows didn't really have a huge consistency with a lot of that stuff. A lot of the more heavy emotional stuff, like you'll see an episode that gets really notably emotional, or even one that has a lot of adult themes, and then the next episode it'll be goofy random shit, and it feels weird a lot of the times to deal with that. But this series being serialized and having this ongoing main narrative, while each episode does focus kind of on its own thing a little bit, excuse me, allows allows it to feel more complete to me. I feel like Craig McCracken's type of humor and writing works much better in a serialized format. Um, the episodic format, like it works sometimes. You'll get gems of episodes, like Abracadaver in Powerpuff Girls, or I don't remember names of any Foster Home episodes, but the one with Cheese or fucking Fred Burger, like those ones are absolute gems. But it's like you'll get those, but then you'll get a lot of episodes that are just kind of weird or just not that good. So it's like you kind of have to pick and choose. You have to figure it out. Not every Powerpuff Girls episode is the Love Makes the World Go Round episode. Most of them are not that good. That song still goes through my head all the time. I love the shit out of that episode. With the clown slash mime. It is so good. But not every episode of Powerpuff Girls is like that. There's an episode with this kid who fucking eats glue and turns into a glue monster. It's stupid as hell. But that's what happens with most episodic shows. Not just Craig McCracken specifically, but most episodic shows are like that. You'll have episodes that are just really good, and then some that just don't work. And it's all subjective, of course, but still. With a serialized format, it allows the show to feel more consistent, to feel more like, in terms of its quality, consistent, I should say. Um, that way you're not worried about like, oh, is this episode not going to be good? It's like it's most likely going to be. Now, it could not be. Even serialized shows have weaker episodes sometimes, but for the most part it is more consistent. And I like that. And like I said, Craig McCracken's style of writing and humor seems to work better with that. Not to mention it adds in a lot more emotion and depth. Last episode felt like an amazing culmination of everything that came before. It felt like everything was building to that moment, and that's only like halfway through the season. So now we have to follow that up. We have to follow that up with these government agents who, I guess, are controlling the dogs that we thought were alien demon dog things. Um, the great leader is defeated. Like, did not expect that to happen halfway through the season. So Chuck is probably going to end up joining our side because of that. Because his great leader was shown to be kind of a wuss puss. And on top of all of that, kid is facing his worst enemy right now, self-doubt. Speaking as someone who has struggled with this a lot, it's debilitating. Self-doubt can destroy you. It can make you not even want to leave your bed in the morning. It can make you not want to live anymore. Self-doubt can destroy you in every sense of the word. I really hate when people try to look at stuff like that and say, it's not that big a deal, you just have to get over it. It's like, fuck you. If you say that kind of shit, fuck off. Mental and emotional issues are just as important and just as damaging as any physical ones. If you can seriously look someone in the eye and tell them that their mental and emotional issues aren't that serious and they just have to get over it, you can fuck right on off. I'm sorry if that sounds really harsh and everything. I'm sorry if I sound really upset at that, but I have a lot of those, okay? It's personal to me. I have autism. I've literally been told to get over my autism. How? And the same with my depression and anxiety. I have literally been told to just get over it, to just, you know, not. Just don't be depressed. It's like, oh, wow, I haven't thought about that. Let me just turn it off like a switch. It's these kinds of people who just don't understand what these kinds of mental illnesses and issues are and what they can do to a person. And sometimes it's built in ignorance. And sometimes people who go through that ignorance get better. But sometimes they don't. Sometimes they double down. It just depends on the people. And I'm speaking as someone who was that ignorant person once. So, believe me, I understand. But at the same time, it pisses me off to no end when people say stuff like that. Because I do understand now. Because I am going through it. So, kids' struggles here, like I said in the last episode, are perfectly valid. His anger at his friends betraying his trust is perfectly valid. Because he feels abandoned already. His parents died. They died in an accident, and he's so fucking young. Having to live with that shit at his age is absolutely terrible. And it's going to affect him mentally and emotionally. And rightly, fairly so. He has every right to be upset. They did betray him. They did betray his trust. Not out of any ill will, of course. And I feel he knows that. I feel like he understands that they did not do this out of an intention to hurt him. But they did hurt him. And you could tell last episode, they understood they hurt him. They did not blame him for a second. They did not downplay his anger. They did not pretend that he was overacting. No, they understood they fucked up. They understood why, and they understood that kid was in the right to be upset at them. And with all of that, they of course still tried to help him the best they could. They still wanted to fight for him and with him. Because they love him. Again, just with everything I watch, found family tropes, my favorite trope, it is very notable here because kid's fucking family is dead. He's had to find a new one with the likes of Joe, Tuna Sandwich, Papa G, and all them. So now we get into this government agency, and it's like it's unclear if they're bad guys. There's a lot of media in which the government agency does end up being the bad guy, and a lot of media where they end up being a good guy. It just depends on how it ends up being portrayed. And it could go either way. I could see them being like, we're going to help you and everything, but, you're just fucking kids for the most part. Not counting Papa G and, well, a cat as well. It's like, let us take care of this shit. But I could also see them just, ending up being villains in their own right. We do need new villains now that the Great Leader is done. And these hounds have been an active threat. So it's possible to go either way here. And I'm very interested to see what they do. But we are going to just get into this and find out. There's 10 episodes this season, right? I keep checking every time, and it's like, yeah, there's 10 episodes. So there's only 3 more after this one. We're getting close to the end. And while we had a big turning point halfway through, I feel like we've got to have something even bigger for the finale, right? So it's either got to be the government or we're going to have a new villain pop up. But I guess let's find out. Let's see what this episode has in store. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. And for now, I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. There is a part of me that wishes I would do more than one episode at a time with this. That I would like just do a bunch of others. And I could, because I don't have to download it. I'm reacting to it off of Netflix, but at the same time, I want to do one episode here. Because it allows you to have that time between to truly just let that sit within you and mold it in you and everything. You know what I mean? My mind's like not entirely clicking right now. So if some of the stuff I say doesn't sound like it makes a lot of sense, I apologize. I just need to get some food, honestly. But anyway, point is, yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how this closes out with the 3 episodes to go, because we're having the second invasion. That's clearly what the season's gonna end on, and we have this government who are seemingly from the end trying to use the stones for themselves to, I guess, protect the planet. They kind of don't seem like entirely bad people necessarily. They're just, overreaching government shit. It's kind of like a middle ground where they're not good, but they're not bad. I guess we'll see where they go and if they end up accepting our heroes or not. But with these battle suits now, it's going to be interesting to see how our heroes can even fight against those. We found out in this episode that Papa G's name is George, so that's interesting. And we find out that Kid is not in custody. He's gone missing. And Tuna Sandwich had a vision before of him kind of running into the invasion, the second invasion, so that's not great. But during all of this, this episode mostly focuses on getting the band back together. Everyone coming back together after everything that happened to save Kid and, just get back into what they were doing. And it's led by Tuna Sandwich, who is using Chuck's translator and has like uh, what's his name? The guy from The Big Lebowski, Sam something. It kind of sounds like him, and I wonder if that was intentional. Um, but yeah, he ends up getting them together, working with Chuck, who has switched sides. We see that Chuck can speak English without his translator. It's just really hard for him and even painful. So that's interesting in and of itself as well. Um, and eventually, all of the group except Kid do get back together. But the question kind of just comes out to now what? How are they going to fight against the military? It's like it's the military. They have big guns and shit. They have these power suits now that we see at the end. So how are we supposed to fight them? Like I don't think they're going to do anything to like notably hurt our heroes, but they will capture them and contain them, which would be bad still. So yeah, it's gonna be definitely an interesting fight. No clue where it's going to go from there, but I'm very invested. This episode wasn't as good as the last one, I would say. I still think the last one is more like just wow, you know. This one was still really good despite that, though, and really did just continue to impress me. It's like this show feels like it's almost a different show now. It feels like it's evolved in a notable way, and I like that because it also feels natural. It doesn't feel like it's come out of nowhere or that it is something inexplicable and goes against what came before. No, it feels natural. It feels believable, and I'm happy for that. So now, what's next? We got to save Kid. We have to fight off the government to somehow get the rings back, and it's going to be one hell of an interesting fight for sure. Even if they would have to outsmart them, wouldn't they? That's the only thing I could think of. I guess we'll have to see, but um, for the time being, though, I guess tell me in the comments below. What did you think of this episode of Kid Cosmic? Let me know, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.